Welcome back to our discussion on Metroid Other M.
Part 2! Samus freaks out! Ah!
Yes, this is the second things that people always complain about Metroid Other M. Their argument is this. In that one scene where Ridley, or rather a clone of Ridley appears,
That's important.
and Samus freaks out. She's like freaking out. Basically, people's argument is this. She has fought Ridley on multiple occasions. Several occasions. Therefore, she should no longer be afraid of Ridley in any way. And now we will begin our counter-argument.
Okay, first of all, Samus has a embedded sort of fear of Ridley, or post-traumatic stress disorder fear of Ridley. This is because when Samus was basically 3 years old, she kind of seen Ridley toast her mother alive. We'll even throw up the manga page right there. Okay. Now you can obviously see that you don't actually see her mother die, but Ridley's about to kill 3-year-old Samus and looks all scary. To a 3-year-old anyways. And her mother runs up, and then explosion, and you see the text box, Mama! Which pretty much implies that her mother is now the smoldering soot ash remains right there.
She could join Luke in the Smoldered Relatives Club.
Yes. I wonder if her bones remain. That's off topic. But yeah, Samus kind of saw Ridley kill her mother when she was 3 years old. That right there is the cause of her fear, phobias, whatever, of Ridley. Okay, the next part I'm going to bring up is Ridley has only died one time. Samus has fought Ridley, let's see, counting the manga. Okay, there was the one time she actually fought him in the manga, not the time when she freaked out even worse than she did in Other M. Then there was Zero Mission, Prime. She fought him twice in Prime 3, and she fought him twice in Super Metroid. So, 7 times. But Ridley's only ever died once. Now, in Zero Mission, when you defeat Ridley, there's explosions, he's screeching in pain, and then he just kind of flashes and his sprite disappears. Now that you might say, okay, well he's dead, right? But remember, in both Metroid Prime 3 and especially in Super Metroid, Ridley has the sort of ability to just appear literally out of nowhere. There's nothing there. There's even a full background you can see, and then all of a sudden eyes just glow and he just appears like, here's Ridley! And that kind of implies that he probably has some kind of stealth or camouflage ability. So if he can use that to make an entrance, then why can't he use it to make an exit, running with his tail between his dragony legs? Being like, oh, that's Samus, oh, God, you know. And he does appear in Metroid Prime, which chronologically happens not that long after the first game, or Zero Mission, whatever, as Meta Ridley with all the cybernetic enhancements, which they probably did because of his mortal wounds. She didn't kill him, but she got him within an inch of his life, and he fled. In fact, she got his life signs down so low that the life force lock when Turian thought he was dead, but he wasn't. He wasn't dead, he was just really, really, really beat the hell up. In Metroid Prime, she fights him as Meta Ridley. And at the end of the fight, the Chozo statues shoot him with lasers and he gets pushed off a cliff. Mind you, normal Ridley could survive this, and he's Meta Ridley now. Oh, okay, so he was a little beat up by Samus from their fight, but it seemed like he still had a lot of juice left.
Now, being pushed off a cliff does not sound like the best indicator of death for Ridley!
Yeah. And I know his wings were fused out because he couldn't fly at this point, but still, he could survive that fall. I know he could. Samus looks over, and it's almost as if over the cliff, and it's like she knows the battle is done for now, but she kind of senses that he'll be back. Metroid Prime 3, you fight him twice. Once, the first time as Meta Ridley in that sort of Lord of the Rings inspired falling fight. And you don't even really damage him much. You just shoot him in the mouth a bit, and then she kind of does sort of like a finishing-esque move, kind of Other M style, which is funny because Other M didn't exist yet. And then Rundus comes in and saves her, and you see Ridley fall, but you never see him hit bottom, first of all. And second of all, his wings are still intact. He could have flown out of there.
So even less reason to indicate his death there.
Not to mention, you fight him again at the end of the game as Omega Ridley, and he's the only Seed Guardian that you don't see actually die. He kind of is shaking, he covers himself with his wings, lights come from him, and then blue smoke everywhere, and then the smoke clears and he pulls a Batman and just vanishes. I'm Ridley Man! Yeah. She doesn't fight Ridley again until Super Metroid, which, of course, Metroid 2 has to happen between there. And now, the first thing is, in Super Metroid, you might notice that Ridley's appearance looks a lot more beat up than in other games. He looks kind of tattered, especially his wings. And yeah, it's kind of an indicator that he hasn't fully healed from his previous battle. And also, he's ditched his cybernetic upgrades, probably because he figured they're not working. Or maybe he's just naturally healed enough to where he doesn't need them anymore. Whichever the case may be, he just no longer is using them. But now, the first battle, Ridley just runs away, and you don't even really do a whole lot of damage to him. I don't think your normal beam would be hurting him all that much. But in the second battle, parts of Ridley start falling off of him, like his wing and stuff. This is the first time you've ever seen him mutilated in any fashion, in any form. Like, literally losing body parts. And even if he survived that, he's in the place of Zebes that is the absolute furthest from the surface that you could be. Horribly beat up within... If he is alive, he's gotta be within an inch of his life. Crawling. There is no way in hell he got off that planet before it exploded. And if he did die, then his corpse is on a planet that exploded.
Yeah.
Okay? The point I'm making here is Samus thought Ridley was dead. D-E-A-D, dead.
For the first time ever, she thought he was dead.
Exactly. That's the point. He is dead. Just gone. And he really is dead, too. As Mark pointed out, the Ridley in Other M is a clone. Mm-hmm. And another thing, well, you might say, well, why wouldn't she expect to see a clone of Ridley or something? Why would she expect that? There has been no evidence of cloning at all until Ridley. Mm-hmm. Up to that point, there has been no evidence of actual cloning. And you were going to say something? I think you were going to say, like, why would they clone?
Yes, that's it. Why would they clone Ridley?
Yes, Ridley's not some dumb beast. He's intelligent. He's smart. He's sentient. He plots. He plans. He schemes. He controls. He manipulates.
The only reason that they cloned the Metroids was because
they thought they could control the Metroids utilizing MB as a human figure. Mm-hmm. You know, to bond with the Metroids on a mother-esque basis, like Samus bonded with the hatchling, the infant whatever, the baby.
Exactly.
But Ridley, there's no way they'd be able to control him. They didn't even mean to clone him. They wouldn't want to clone him.
Okay, now here's what we want you, as the audience, to do. Imagine yourself as Samus. Now, imagine that you fully believe that Ridley, the killer of your mother when you were just a child, is gone forever. You know that he is gone forever. You are not expecting to see him ever again. Now, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Ridley appears in front of you. How would you react? Would you just be like, oh, Ridley appeared again. I better start shooting at him immediately? No, I think you would pause. I think you would be in
You're-
shock.
Your brain would probably explode. Actually, you know what? One comparison I like to make. Remember in Terminator 2 when Sarah Connor sees the Arnold Terminator with her son?
Mm-hmm.
What was her reaction?
She got on the ground and started crawling away. She was practically paralyzed with fear, almost paralyzed with fear. And
Kind of a similar reaction that Samus had to Ridley in the other M scene.
and let's remember that Sarah Connors is a really strong character, especially in T2.
Yes. And on top of that, even though she only had one other movie regarding the Terminator, in that one movie, she and the Terminator fought and interacted constantly.
Mm-hmm. I mean, she was not crawling away from it in fear. I'm sure she was terrified. But she, was able to get past her fear and save herself.
Yeah, but the reason she was acting the way she did in Terminator 2 was because at the end of Terminator 1, she believed that it was destroyed and she wouldn't have to deal with it again. And when it's right there, as if nothing happened, shock.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, in the Terminator universe, there's more reason to suspect there to be another Terminator to come after you with time travel and the fact that there's like billions of these damn things.
Yeah, seriously.
In Metroid, there's only one Ridley. There has only ever been one Ridley. Well, no, wait, there's two Ridleys. There's the clone.
Yeah.
But before that, there was
Yeah.
only one Ridley. Actually, does Ridley X in Fusion count as a third Ridley? Probably. But still, and speaking of Metroid Fusion, why didn't she freak out with Ridley X? Well, maybe because she saw Ridley's... the corpse of Ridley that they have in the frozen storage area on the BSL spaceship, that was the Ridley clone from Other M that died from the Metroid Queen, and after the Marines or the Federation raided the bottle ship, they took his corpse away and stuck it there.
In other words, Samus was clued in. It was not a complete and total surprise.
Exactly. So she kind of expected that it might happen. She might have even knew that his corpse was stored on the space station before she even started her mission, because remember, she was escorting their scientist personnel on SR-388. She probably already knew most of what they had on board there and what the X could or couldn't infect.
Mm-hmm. And aside from we keep explaining why she's terrified and can't do anything, we should also look at the fact that eventually Samus did get the courage to fight back, overcame her fear. This is something that no one looks at. It's like, she was afraid. She was afraid and paralyzed with her fear. Therefore, I am insulted that they did this to Samus, and she should have just been able to fight back immediately.
Being able to conquer your fear is the meaning of courage. She has true courage because she was able to fight back against what she's afraid of. Yes, she was paralyzed with fear. It was a mix of emotions, shock, post-traumatic stress disorder, phobia, all this other stuff just running through her head. Just all at once. It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming to any human being. Period. Okay? Oh, one more little thing I want to touch on, because this is just something that I remember. So I remember once somebody saying, if Samus was on board the ship in Other M and saw the whole Metroid military program and everything, why was she so shocked to find out they were still doing it in Metroid Fusion? That person who said that, she wasn't shocked in Metroid Fusion. Remember, Computer Atom in Fusion, when it talks about the whole Metroid breeding program, it actually says, or maybe you already knew of the program's existence. Surely you must have had your suspicions when you saw, the area that resembles SR-388. Perfect environment for raising Metroids. Yeah, Samus wasn't completely clueless. I think she had her suspicions the whole time. She never said or even acted like she was shocked. That was more the player's reaction. not the characters. Stop confusing your reaction with the character's reaction.
And I think that is one of the biggest problems that really, really makes it easy to see why people are so, passionate about this scene, is that they always viewed, because, at least during gameplay, I mean, sure, during the opening monologue, like Samus talked and, told the story. But during gameplay, Samus is silent in the earlier games. So it's like Link from Legend of Zelda. You're kind of, I guess, putting yourself in her place and thinking, yeah, she's a silent badass who just goes around without any fear and just blasts everything away.
Oh, by the way, about Samus being silent, people think that Samus talks too much in Other M. Bull crap. Samus doesn't really say a whole hell of a lot in Other M. Out loud. Yes, she does a lot of monologuing to herself, but that's not her talking out loud. That's her thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
That's more for you. That's I don't know why Metroid tells its stories like that a lot of the times, but it just does. It's something the series just does. It's like Star Trek in their logs, and no, not the heavy thick wood kind either. Samus monologues and reflects back on things that have happened. Oh, also, if Adam did all of Samus's thinking for her, then why in her monologues does she, put pieces of things together and clues together and show signs of thinking for herself? Like when she's talking to MB but doesn't realize she's talking to MB and goes, wait a minute, there's some holes in this person's story. The Federation didn't even have to go through all this trouble. They could just destroy this whole facility. Oh, they must want something. There's something she's not telling me.
Not to cut you off, but I think we're getting a little bit off track.
Yes, we are. Sorry, it doesn't take long to explain the points that we wanted to explain, so I just brought up a few extra things on the side, okay?
So, to summarize the points we made, Samus follows orders because it is a military operation. She wants to help her friends, and she can't do that without following orders. If she just went around firing all her super powerful weapons in an enclosed space in outer space, that would cause a danger to everyone. That's why she takes orders. And of course, another point we made was that Samus suffers from post-traumatic stress disorder. She saw her mother get destroyed by Ridley. She put up several mental barriers to fight on. However, after she believed Ridley to be completely destroyed in Super Metroid, she lowered these barriers, and that is why she was so terrified when he showed up again. She thought he was dead. However, even though she was terrified and paralyzed by fear for a moment, she did eventually get the courage to strike back, and that is what makes her a badass space heroine.
All right. I think that pretty much concludes our discussion on Metroid Other M.
Anything else I might have to say on this topic, I'll say when we eventually do an LP of it someday.
Yeah, and my gosh, we spent a lot more time on this one than the last one, which I was not expecting because...
Well, there was the fire truck.
Even then, that was just a few seconds. But I wasn't expecting to spend so much time on this one, considering it has less points to be made.
Yeah, but that last one where Release only died once is kind of a long point to make.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
See ya.